What's up, everyone? Happy Thursday. Welcome to another edition of Talking Sports with TC. And tonight we're going to continue the 2022 NFL previews. And this episode, I'm going to preview the AFC South. Let's start off here in Indianapolis with the Colts. After losing their last two games in horrific fashion to the Raiders and Jaguars at the end of last season to miss the playoffs, the Colts traded away Carson Wentz, who was a failed experiment. In comes Matt Ryan, who played an outstanding 15 years with the Atlanta Falcons and almost threw for 4,000 yards. And he did it with a not so good roster, even though they were able to get 7 wins down in Atlanta last year. So out goes Wentz, in comes Ryan. And Ryan, I believe, is going to provide at least short-term stability in the quarterback position. The Colts also made some key moves on defense for bringing in Yannick Ngakoue in a trade with the Raiders and bringing in Stephon Gilmore as a free agent, the former defensive player of the year to shore up their secondary. The biggest question mark, in my opinion, is going to be a wide receiver. Aside from Michael Pittman, they don't have any other viable options at wideout. They did spend a second-round draft pick on Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati. At 6'3" and 211 pounds with some good speed, he'll provide another big target for Matt Ryan. The tight end position is also in flex, with Mo Alley Cox being a lone holdover from last year's tight end room with Jack Doyle retiring. So the receiving core may be in question, but the majority of that roster is complete, along with Jonathan Taylor, who is the league's leading rusher last season. This is a crucial year for the Colts, especially for the regime under Frank Reich and Chris Ballard. They have to make a deep playoff run this year. There's no more excuses here in Indy. If they miss the playoffs, expect heads to be chopped off this offseason, with Frank Reich and Chris Ballard both being let go. But this is a critical year. You bring in a short-term fixing quarterback once again. Hopefully this will pay dividends. Let's move on down to Duval in Jacksonville. And sadly, the Jags, they're Jags. They, except for that one season in 2017 where they made it all the way to the AFC Championship, they've just been a terrible franchise. And it really hit rock bottom last year with that failed experiment with Urban Meyer. I don't think he was fit to coach in the NFL. I said that before they hired him, and that was arguably, if not the biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes that Shad Khan has made since his tenure as owner there. Trevor Lawrence needs to have a better season this upcoming year. The number one overall pick, they drafted him to be the savior of the franchise, and he needs to make a huge leap and improve on his decision making, his turnovers, and everything else. So out goes Meyer, in comes Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl with the Eagles back in 2017. Peterson is known to be a guy that has worked with quarterbacks. He developed Carson Wentz before Wentz got injured. He actually resurrected Nick Foles' career during that season when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So whether he could have Trevor Lawrence or take Trevor Lawrence to the next level, that remains to be seen. But the Jags are a lot more talented than what the roster suggests. But we'll see what happens if it's going to be another long season, which I think it will down in Jacksonville. Now let's head over to Houston. And the Texans, aside from letting their coach go after one season, Dave Culley, they brought in Lovie Smith as their next head coach, and it's not going to make any difference who the coach is down in Houston. The Texans are just god-awful. Davis Mills, their starting quarterback, who is a third-rounder out of Stanford, did show some promise on a terrible team last season. So he is entrenched as the number one guy. But that roster is depleted of talent on both sides of the ball. Now, on the field, the product is terrible, but off the field, they may face some issues. This is the franchise that has traded away their franchise quarterback, Deshaun Watson, after a myriad of allegations of sexual misconduct that occurred the last 2+ years. Now that he's with the Browns and faces a 6-game suspension, a lot of people are suggesting that the NFL may investigate the Texans for enabling or fostering that toxic environment down there in Houston, which I think they should. Because how are you going to enable someone to get massages unsupervised, and also let these also have these victims sign NDAs. I've said this since the team was founded. The Texans are a very suspect organization. Ever since Bob McNair, who, like, God rest his soul, bought the team, now his son Cal McNair has been running it. The team has made some very questionable decisions down there. The organization is poorly ran, and the NFL needs to investigate this. And if they do and find that the Texans were culpable or liable in fostering a toxic environment with Watson, then I expect a huge fine, maybe suspension of the owner, and some loss of draft picks. But crazy times in Houston, and they're not going to be relevant for another 3 or 4 years, in my opinion. And then lastly, let's head over to the Music City with the Tennessee Titans. Last season, they won 12 games, clinched the #1 overall seed, but they lost in the divisional round, surprisingly, to the upstart Cincinnati Bengals, who went all the way to the Super Bowl. You trade away your #1 receiver, A.J. Brown, to the Eagles. Now, in comes Robert Woods, who's coming off a very horrific ACL injury. Derrick Henry, who missed half of the season with a foot injury, is now 100% healthy, and he's ready to take back his crown as the best running back in the league. The biggest question mark is quarterback. Last season, Ryan Tannehill regressed. He had a drop off in completion percentage in QBR, which is quarterback rating, and also he turned over the ball way too many times. The only reason why the Titans were able to get the #1 seed is because their defense played lights out. If Tannehill struggles at any point this season, you draft Malik Willis, who is a raw prospect out of Liberty, in the 3rd round. So if he struggles, or if the Titans struggle this early in the season, there's going to be a lot of calls, not just in Nashville, but in national media, to see if you can give Malik Willis an opportunity to start and give him some chance to play, and see if he can be a viable starting quarterback for the future for that franchise. So fans of the show, let me know what you think. Who do you think is going to win the division? Who do you think is going to surprise? Who do you think is going to finish in last place? Post your comments at youtube.com/talkingsportswithtc. That concludes another episode of this fine program. Have a happy Thursday, and tomorrow I will talk about the AFC East. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.